Mallard. It is a Gresley A4 Pacific streamliner named after a duck. And like Thomas the Tank Engine, it's a famous blue locomotive. But Mallard's fame wasn't storybooks, hers was speed. On July 3rd, 1938, she broke the world speed record, achieving 126 miles per hour, a record that to this day remains unbroken for steam traction. 50 years later, she would return to steam for the final time, making limited runs. Currently, she resides in the National Railway Museum in York. She has also remained iconic and inspirational to many, whether she's in 00 gauge or Lego. In 2003, Hornby announced new releases of Mallard among other A4 Pacifics as part of the highly anticipated Live Steam range. Years later, sales declined and the range was soon discontinued around 2011. But the Live Steam Club has helped to keep supporting the community of those still using this system. As fun as it's been to drive these Live Steam engines, there is no way I could ever see myself owning one, not just because of the expense, but the complex requirement needed to keep running and maintaining these, not to mention their flawed manual instructions. It's best left to the professionals. Heck, I'm still not at a regular DCC level yet. But it was when I found my Hornby smoke generator instructions from a failed conversion I did a few years back, I noticed among its compatible options that it can be fitted to work on tender-driven A4 locos. It may not be up to the same performance and essence of Live Steam, but the ironic thing is, when that product was in its early stages of development, the A4 models featured in the promotional video used those old smoke units mixed with CGI to simulate the Live Steam effect. It's only when you see and smell the final product up close, you'll find that it's hard to turn away from. It's regularly been the case for me when I've covered the displays at Doncaster over the last few years. While some of Hornby's earlier models like the D49 and Schools class were made to have smoke units with easy screw-in installation, the A4, among others, require a bit more of a fiddly workaround. So, let's get started. First, the unit has to have the screw lip cut off in order to sit flat on the chassis. Not a problem, as one I purchased off eBay recently already has a damaged clip. Now, I could have gone with a Sooth, or is it pronounced Zoiter generator, but it would mean having to replace the funnel. I tried that before with another loco and it didn't go smoothly. Next, the top surface of the chassis has to be scored with a screwdriver for the unit to be keyed into place. Superglue won't do it as it needs a bondage that is heat resistant, so I'm going to use a special 2-part JB Weld high heat to fix the unit in place. That is given 6 to 8 hours to set. Now whilst the epoxy sets, I'm now going to make 2 holes through the chimney with a 3 30-second drill bit. The first hole was easy to drill through, but the second was a little tough, as it had a moulded block inside.
I think I only just managed to accomplish that.
Then a strip of heat-resistant reflective tape is placed inside the interior of the body shell. Normally a small amount for the chimney is enough, but I'm taking no chances given this A4 shell is more hollow than the other locos, so I'm putting 2 layers on. With some remaining epoxy, I'll paint a small amount around the inside of the holes. Hopefully, this will provide double protection from the heat. Well, it's now been a couple of hours for the resin to set hard, which has allowed me to wire up this connector to the chassis. Because there are no copper contacts, it has to be plugged in. So I've done a bit of a rough temporary connection to do the first test. So I'm going to switch on the power. Let's see if this works. With the epoxy now set, I can start wiring up the unit to the chassis and tender motor. As this 462 has no copper slots to plug into, the grey connector on the yellow wire is attached to one side of the chassis. I've welded on a little solder to stop it sliding off. It's slotted off to the side as it was catching the wheel when slotted on flat. The red wire is attached to a brass connector slotted through the hole under the firebox door. Incidentally, as this generator was second hand, I've attached some new plugs to it courtesy of Antwalt Spares. 2 connectors are attached to the tender motor, grey on the top, brass leading out. That is joined onto the chassis connector fed through the firebox. With the generator connected this way, if I don't want to use the smoke, I can unplug the wires and tuck them inside their shells. To keep the wires from catching on the drive wheels when the shell is replaced, I'll secure them with some hot glue. In addition to the lamps by West Hill Wagon Works fitted to the front, although having now lost their handles, one last addition of detail before reassembly, a painted crew, also from Antwalt. Everything was then reattached and the first test was carried out on Waddleton. The conversion was a success, but unfortunately at this point I had run out of Soothe smoke. So until I can get some more, for the first coach rake test, I filled her up with some basic smoke oil and took her down to the club. Our test layout was long enough to have her strength and performance tested with 6 teak coaches. At first, she performed brilliantly, as whiffy as the cheap smoke smell was, but her eventual slow speed at max power was likely due to her tender's traction tyres needing replacing. So I then reduced her coach rake to 4. So there we have a 1980s Hornby Mallard running under old school smoke power. I am curious on how long this will last, but compared to live steam it'll be cheaper and easier to both maintain and clean. I look forward to bringing this one on future travels. Thank you for watching, and until next time, bye for now.